Will Shaquille O'Neal and Angel Reese bear the brunt of $820 million worth company's ongoing crisis? Could two of the hottest voices in sports and culture face fallout from their parent company's financial turmoil? Shaquille O'Neal's The Big Podcast and Angel Reese's Unapologetically Angel have been fan favorites, tackling everything from sports and culture to life's big, and sometimes hilarious, questions. Both shows are hosted by Playmaker HQ, a part of the massive $820 million media brand, Better Collective. But here's the twist. Recent turmoil at Better Collective could spell trouble for these podcasts. In late October, Better Collective announced a layoff of over 100 employees, citing struggles in the US and a slowdown in Brazil. This led to a surprising 36.5% tumble in its stock and a downward revenue forecast for 2024, from up to $460 million to as low as $385 million. The question on everyone's mind now is, could these shifts impact The Big Podcast and Unapologetically Angel? Although both shows have held strong so far, these setbacks make it hard to ignore potential cuts down the road. What will be the impact on Shaquille O'Neal if his Big Podcast shuts down? The Big Podcast with Shaq pulls in an estimated $9,700 to $155, $800 yearly from YouTube views alone, according to Social Blade. Not bad for most, right? But for Shaq, who's most likely backed by sponsors and ad revenue, those numbers are just the tip of the iceberg. And even with these extras, podcast earnings are still a drop in the ocean compared to his other investments and business income. Shaq's podcast may be a fun side gig, but it's not exactly his financial lifeline. Let's not forget that O'Neal is one of the most business-savvy former athletes out there. After earning a hefty $292 million in NBA salary and an additional $200 million in endorsements, he now makes more in retirement than he did while on the court. At least, that's what Celebrity Net Worth states. The ex-LA Lakers star's investments range from food chains to tech to nightlife. So don't be surprised when you come to know that he owns not one but 9 Papa John's restaurants in and around Atlanta. And remember his ownership of the Sacramento Kings? He sold his 1% share in 2021 for $11 million, turning that investment into a sizable profit so he could endorse WNBA, a major gambling company. With ventures in everything from Lyft and JCPenney to Forever 21 and Big Chicken, Shaq's income streams come from nearly every direction. So, if his podcast did shut down, it would be more of a bummer for his fans than a financial blow for him. Sure, the podcast is a great way for Shaq to stay connected with his audience. But in the grand scheme of his massive empire, it's just one small piece of the puzzle. What will be the impact on Angel Reese if her Unapologetically Angel shuts down? Imagine being a young WNBA player trying to make a living in a league where salaries barely cover your expenses. That's the reality for Angel Reese, whose podcast Unapologetically Angel has become an essential side gig to help her make ends meet. At least that's what she said during an Instagram Live. So, with estimated earnings between $5,200 and $82,800 a month, Reese's podcast income may not rival those of big names like Shaquille O'Neal, but it certainly helps fill the gap left by her modest WNBA paycheck. If she were to lose it, the impact would be more than noticeable. Let's look at the numbers. Reese's WNBA salary is $73,439, barely above the league minimum and far below the maximum of $241,984. As reported by Morningstar, AS mentioned earlier, Reese got candid on an Instagram Live about just how little that covers, pointing out that her monthly rent is $8,000. "I don't even think my salary pays one of my bills," she joked. But the reality behind her words is clear. Her WNBA income alone doesn't cut it. It's no wonder she laughingly admitted, "I'm living beyond my means." That's where her podcast comes in, alongside her other income streams. While Reese is new to the world of pro-athlete finances, she's no stranger to brand endorsements. She was the queen of nil deals during her time at LSU, amassing partnerships with major brands like Goldman Sachs, Tampax, and Airbnb, among others. Her NL value reached an impressive $1.8 million in 2024. And even since going pro, brands like Disney and Hershey's have continued to seek her out. Reebok, in fact, has announced a signature shoe deal for her, marking her as a marketable star well beyond the basketball court. But still, there is no denying that if unapologetically Angel shuts down, the blow will be significant for someone building her finances. All in all, it's not as if the possibility of Shaquille O'Neal and Angel Reese's podcast suffering because of setback to Better Collective is non-existent, but it's still thin. However, if it were to happen, Reese might suffer a greater setback than Shaq.